Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Selena Rodgers Dickerson. I am your host for today. Happy Small Business Week. For those of you who do not know me, I am the owner of Sarcor LLC, which is a civil and transportation engineering services firm located in Birmingham, Alabama. We do work throughout the Southeast, as far as South as Mobile, City of Atlanta, etc. I also own Celine LLC, which is a diverse business strategy organization, primarily specialized in helping organizations like Birmingham Jefferson Convention Complex figure out their metrics for housing minority owned businesses for uh, big projects. So today, I want to take a little time to just discuss with you all the importance of growing your business and the stages of estate planning as your business grows. Uh, I started my business in the last recession. I got laid off in 2010, actually on my anniversary date of employment. And I just had to figure out from there, what does life look like for me? I was fortunate enough to get a contract right away. I had already founded my company, but I didn't have any projects or anything. I just knew that I wanted to take a chance on myself. I literally got off the boat and became a water walker and decided to take a chance on myself. My parents, my dad always said at that time I wasn't married and I didn't have a child. He was like, Selena, when you're full, everybody's full. So now it's the time to take a chance on yourself. So I did. I stepped out on faith. I started Sarcor, and here we are 11 years later. I have staff, and, a good team of engineers that are my core employees. I have mentors and relationships. I mentor other companies. But along the way, I have discovered that I need to start planning. Now, I actually do have a family, and I want to make sure that the work that I've done is in place so that, God forbid, anything ever happened to me, my family is still taken care of. My daughter, my wife, she is the reason why I get up and do this grind every day. We want to make sure that we can make sure that things are going to be in order. And it took a team of people around me to make sure that my estate is taken care of, that my daughter will be provided for while I'm here, and whenever God decides that He's ready to call me home. Prayerfully, that's no time in the near future. But just in case, I have things in place and I have a good comfort knowing that it's there. Because I have run into so many entrepreneurs, particularly entrepreneurs of color, Black men, Black women, who have the fundamentals that they know they are good at their trade, good at their craft, taken a step and stepped out on faith and started their businesses, but they don't have anything in place. And unfortunately, some of those entrepreneurs passed on without wills, without trust, without those things to make sure that we have our ducks in a row, so to speak, so that our families don't have to start over and things end up in probate. But along the way, we have to, there are some entrepreneurs that may be watching today say, well, Selena, I'm not at that point yet. I want to get to that point. I have a lot to do. And so we're here to help you get to that point as well. So I'd like to introduce you first, Miss Carmen Mays. Carmen is going to give you some steps on what you can do to actually grow your business, whether it is from a storefront that you currently have, or if you're a home-based business that's working out of your office, at home, or in your bedroom, and you just need to get your things going. She's going to tell you what Grow with Google is all about. Hi, Carmen. How are you today?
Hi, Selena. I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Cool, cool. So I'll just jump right in.
Yes.
All right. So, hey,
Tell us a little bit
everybody.
about
As she
yourself.
said, oh, cool. Yeah. So my name is Carmen Mays. I am a Birmingham native, specifically the 35211. So shout out to everybody west of Center Street. I grew up here, went to school here, went to college in another city, went to graduate school here in Birmingham. And most recently, in January of this year, 2021, I was named Birmingham's Grow with Google Digital Coach. Birmingham was added to the Grow with Google Digital Coaches market as a response to the racial upheaval, um, as a result of the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and others. So, as Google demonstrated or as Google articulated its commitment to racial equity, they decided to add Birmingham to the Grow with Google Digital Coaches platform. And so here we are. And that is why we have this program here today. The Grow with Google Digital Coaches program is a free, totally accessible via virtual at the moment. Once COVID is over, or once we get the all clear to go out in person, I will be out in your communities, at your local libraries, at your local coffee shops and whatnot, doing these workshops. So don't worry if you can't reach us via internet. We will be available to you in person, hopefully very soon. I offer at least 3 workshops a month that cover digital skills, mostly how to use Google tools to help you in your life and in your business, as well as covering different aspects of doing business, particularly centered around mental health and operations. So we cover the gamut of the many things that come up when you're an entrepreneur or when you're thinking about being an entrepreneur. How to use Google Sheets to run your budgets or to manage your projects. How to use Google Calendar to make sure that you are going to where you need to be on time. These are all free tools that are accessible to you if you have a Google email address, and that's whether you have a regular Gmail address or if you have Google Workspace and you run your websites at email address through Google servers. So that's a quick overview of what the Grow with Google Digital Coaches program is about. It's specifically for Black and Latinx small business owners, although everyone is welcome. We have a specific focus there to make sure that those who are usually most marginalized get the resources, and we do our part to not only close the racial wealth gap, but also address the digital divide that we have in our communities.
That's awesome. And I am a fan of Google Calendar. I have my daughter's in school in kindergarten, and one of the parents texts me all the time. She says, Selena, I don't know how you do it. How do you keep up with everything? I was like, I live by my calendar. Google Calendar will alert me when I need to get in my car. So it's time to go. I thank you for all the tools and the resources that you have available. And there's still some things that I need to learn. I've actually sat in on some of your workshops and learned quite a bit. Just the portions that you talked about SEO, search engine optimization, and being able to be found, and not just having having your website intentional. Can you tell us a little bit about those things?
Yes. So what a lot of people may know is that Google is the number 1 search engine in the world. What they may not know is that the number 2 search engine in the world is YouTube. So it's very important that your digital presence not only includes a website that is well worded, using keywords and phrases to increase your search engine optimization on the Google search page, but that you also get into digital content by way of video or some sort of audio essays that you can publish to YouTube to make sure that whichever search engine people are using, you are increasing the likelihood that they're going to interact with your business.
That's amazing. I did not realize that YouTube was the number 2 search engine. So always learning something. And it makes sense. As much as my daughter tells me what things she wants because she's watched the YouTube video, it makes perfect sense. I've bought more toys because of a YouTube search that came across on something that she was doing. When is your next free session?
So coming up next week, May 11th, May 13th, and then another one on May 18th, I'm going to be covering how to use these Google tools. So most people know when you sign up for a Gmail address, you get all kinds of stuff with it. You get Google Drive, you get Google Photos, spreadsheets, slides, docs, all this other stuff. But most people don't use it. They just have it and it's just there. They only use the Gmail. They may use the calendar. So starting on May 11th at 5:30, we're going to discuss how to use these different tools to aid you in your everyday life. Then we're going to move on to talk about how to use those tools to collaborate with your team and how to reach your customers in this remote setting. So most people think, oh, we're coming out of COVID. We don't need to do remote stuff anymore. That's not true. Because one, I don't know if we coming out of COVID. One, two, um, there are people who are still not going to be as comfortable coming right out, so they're still going to want a more hybrid experience, and you're still going to have to accommodate them. Also, you don't have to have a team that's local. If you are working with people who are in a different city or even a different country, learning how to manage your team remotely, learning how to use these tools to communicate with people wherever they are or wherever you are. Maybe you want to work from Barcelona for 3 months. I don't know. I mean, I do. But whatever it is that you want to do, however you want your life to be designed, and however you want to maximize your time, you can use Google tools to help you do that. And then come learn about it with me starting next Tuesday.
That's awesome. I know I'm going to sign up, but I think I'm actually going to encourage my team members to actually sign up as well because we use Google Teams already, and that's helped us through COVID. When we need to have a staff meeting, we use that as a resource, and it's the feedback that it asks you all the time. How can we improve? And it's always a better experience every time. And so, how we can learn to collaborate will be great because, like you said, we may not be coming out of COVID anytime soon. And I've always wanted my company to be set up to where if someone wanted to just work from the beach, I don't really care where you work from as long as the client is okay. I just want my projects to be done on time, on schedule, within budget, of course. And where you do it is, it does not make as much, it doesn't matter to me as much as long as you're going to be responsive to the client. And so I look forward to that workshop, and congratulations again on bringing Grow with Google to Birmingham and on your position. I know we met many, many years ago, and I applaud everything that you do for the community. You have been excellent. You have brought many workshops on your own through your own persistence and your own desire to just have a better Birmingham. So thank you, Carmen. I appreciate everything that you've been doing, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I look forward to seeing all the great things that you will continue to do and look forward to collaborating in the future. And, I always tell my friends, we all we got, but we all we need. And
That's
so,
right.
as long as we keep that in mind, we gonna handle this. We gonna get it done.
We got it. Thank you again. So next, everyone, I've known this gentleman for, I'm not going to tell you how long because then that would disclose our age. But we were in high school together. Um, we played basketball. Obviously, we on different teams within the school. He was on the guys' team. I was on the girls at Ramsey, and I've always had a lot of respect for him. He has turned into be like a big brother for me, a mentor as well. And when I needed to make some changes within my organization, I talked to Jason Eppenger, and Jason is a great relationship banker and president of Citizens Trust Bank. And I would like to have Jason come on for just a moment and just introduce yourself. But I also would like to introduce Mr. Eric Guster. Now, when I met Eric, it was actually in a bank parking lot. Now, I had seen him on TV, all the commercials. I had seen him for a while, but I had never had a conversation with him. And he was just as personable. And I was like, wow, this is a cool guy. And it turned out that we had a lot of things in common, and we actually stayed in touch over the years. And so, gentlemen, if you can just introduce yourselves, tell everybody about what it is that you do, and then we'll get into the questions. Jason, you first.
Well, what a great day to be here. What a great day to be here, Selena. And I want to commend you for all that you're doing to help businesses continue to grow and to continue to advance in within our community. So thank you for that. And it's a pleasure to be here today. Um, as you mentioned, I am a Birmingham native. I've known Selena for a little while here. We go back some years, and again, we're not going to disclose all of that. But back to our days at Ramsey, and then also at our time at Tennessee State together, and then I also completed my studies at the University of Alabama. I do now serve as the market president for Citizens Trust Bank. I'll tell you a little bit about our bank. We're celebrating 100 years this year. Um, uh, we are a black-owned bank based in Atlanta, Georgia, and we have our presence here also in Birmingham as well as Greene County, Alabama. Uh, it's very important to have a banking relationship. One, I think that your banker should be as a part of your inner think tank. They should be your trusted advisor, the same way that you view both your legal and your accounting providers. And so, your engaged banker doesn't just push product on you. They should be solution oriented, and they should be able to provide you with feedback as it relates to your industry trends and analysis and things of that nature. Because we generally tend to deal with multiple clients throughout a throughout your business segment. And so, having that personal relationship, your banker should be that person that should be able to be a listening ear for you, as well as, again, a trusted advisor and somebody who can help guide you through your business cycle.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I have definitely grown to love your staff at Citizens Trust. You know, they know me by name. They ask about my daughter and my family, you know, and it's good to know that I have a team of people who, you know, everyone from the ladies that work in the drive-through all the way upstairs to your office, and I can't remember his name, but the security guard, you know, he's always there to open the door. He's always asking how you're doing and how your day was, and it's just good. That's just a type of environment that you don't see in a lot of big brand banks. You know, it's Citizens Trust Bank, at least for this office in Birmingham, is family. You know, and it's a lot for you. It speaks a lot to you and your leadership for that branch to say that, you know, everyone is so closely knit and everyone's going to treat you and every customer, whether no matter how much money they have in the bank, as a part of your family. So thank you. And Mr. Guster, please take a moment to tell us what you do for those who don't know.
My name is Eric Guster. I own the law firm called Guster Law Firm. I started my firm in 2002. I don't know how old Jason and Selena are, but I started my law firm like 7. So let's see, 19 plus 7. So that means I'm 36 years old. But my law firm started in 2002, and I've been through a lot of changes similar to what Selena is promoting here, is showing business owners what to do and more importantly, what not to do. And I'm very proud of you, Selena, as well as Carmen, is leading the way of women showing business owners the right way to do things, as well as Chastity of Be Grace Media, who you all are leading the pack in business ownership, business mentoring, and showing people the way. My law firm handles personal injury and wrongful death cases all over the country. We're based in Alabama. We typically handle cases in Alabama. We have 2 locations, and it will be 3 very soon after we build another office in the 5 Points West area. And business growth is one thing that I'm very passionate about, that I love mentoring people about, and I love being a part of this program to share those ideas and the pitfalls, so that if we went through some tough times, there's no need for you to go through tough times in the same way. Don't go in the same ditch I went into. Let me tell you about how to avoid that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I've learned along the way as an entrepreneur is I don't have all the answers. And as a Black woman in my field, and you know, I didn't come into entrepreneurship with a whole lot of relationships already of from someone who helped pave that way to help me get into those doors of client relationships for City Hall. I didn't have a family name to help me along the way. My parents did everything they possibly could, and I appreciate everything that they could. But that separate part of mentorship, of how to navigate entrepreneurship, small business growth, those various stages, I hit a lot of hard times. And you know, we hear a lot of entrepreneurs talk about the good stuff. You know, we have a lot of the panels, we have a lot of workshops, and we hear about all the glitz and the glamour and the media releases. And then we just see all of a sudden, that entrepreneur is in the spotlight, but no one really focuses on that journey. And what I get a lot of questions along the way is, well, Selena, well, how did you do it? I was like, well, I pray. Sometimes I don't sleep. I've had some challenges, and I still have challenges. I'm not out the weeds yet. There's still some things that I got to do to grow, but here we are. And I've learned that I have to have, in addition to my bookkeeper, my CPA, I got to have a relationship with the bank, and I have to have an attorney. And one of the things that, so I'm in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. I'm a graduate, but we're doing a reboot to kind of help us strategize through COVID. And I was talking to some of the cohort participants, and they said, well, Selena, we just really don't know how to do the wheels, the trust, what we need to figure out. And I knew that I've acquired some assets, thank God, but I wanted to make sure my things were in order. And so I just had to have a conversation. I started with Jason and his team. And I said, I got some things I want to work out. So I'm going to need to put you in a room, in a call with my attorney. And we had to, it was good that I had a team of people willing to work together to make it work. And it took me roughly about 4.5 months to get through the process of making sure my estate was in order. So you all could just talk about some of those things that you see that are like best practices. And then, if you have a story of something that we should not do, with the mistakes that we have, if you've seen in the course of your careers, that'd be great. Let's start with you, Eric.
One of the mistakes that I've seen is simply people not being prepared. We, in our community, we think you talk about dying, you're going to die tomorrow. And that's just hopefully not true, but it's not. It's one of those things that people say, oh my God, if you talk about death, you talk about wills, then something bad is going to happen to you. But you have to be prepared for what you built to pass it down. And part of that is a succession plan. Simply having something in writing, what happens to your business if you get incapacitated or if you die. You have to have that in writing, saying, if I die, this person starts running the company and my spouse, children, or executive will be able to sell my company to multiple people or these people. Or this is what happens with my client base or my cases. For example, with us, our money is based in the cases that we have. What happens to those cases if something happens to me? Just like with you, Selena, what happens to those clients where you have outstanding invoices of hundreds of thousands of dollars? What happens to that money? So you have to have those things in place to make sure it's rock solid, because as we've seen with people who pass away, then the sharks come out. And when people don't have anything in writing, it becomes a crap show of court filings and lawsuits and people trying to gain control who have nothing to do with your business. People who never had your best interest at heart, but in front of a court setting, the judge is trying to make a determination based upon testimony. So you don't want to leave a person in the black robe to make those decisions for you. What happens to your insurance money? What happens to your houses? What happens to your cars? What happens to your cash? You have to leave specific instructions of what happens to those assets, because if not, you're going to be paying some probate lawyers $500 to $1,000 an hour to fight over your money. Then your children and your spouse may get what's left, and you don't want that.
No, you definitely don't want that. Attorney fees are not cheap, but as you said, $500 an hour. That, some people, they could really take out someone's insurance policy if they're not properly insured, and just to make sure that there's, having adequate insurance is also a big thing, just to make sure you have enough to cover not only your expenses, but to, cover those other costs and make sure that your kid can go to college still. You brought up some good points though, and making sure that you have, like you said, what happened if you become incapacitated? That was not an easy experience when I read through that process and had my living will and my what I want to happen to me. Do I want to have water? That's those things are pretty hard to stomach, but it's necessary, and it's a conversation that we have to have in our community because we work so hard to build our brands and to make a better life and to give back to our communities that you don't want it all eaten up by someone who's never met you in a black robe, who doesn't really care about what it is that you've done in your community and those things that you were really passionate about. So Jason, give us some things about like best practices and protocols just in opening up a bank account and what you might need to do all the way into, making sure that you have those right conversations as a business grows and those assets grow.
Yeah, so the first thing, Selena, that I would like to expound on one thing that Attorney Guster mentioned, and that is the importance of that will or that trust and having it in writing. I also think that very important component of that is to deal with um, your life's plan, if life goes according to your plan, your long term plan, and long term planning rather, as well as having a plan for some unexpected event, as you mentioned, uh, early death or some type of incapacitation or disability. To have that stuff in writing is very critical. And I think it's also very critical for the business owner to make sure that they have those candid conversations again with their legal team, with their accountants, also with their banking uh, professionals, as well as their financial planners, just to ensure that the transfer of wealth or assets is done in the manner that you wish for that transfer to occur. Again, as Attorney Guster mentioned, what we don't want is to have things tied up in probate and then having a judge decide that on your behalf. It is very critical to have that information in writing and have those conversations with your key members of your inner circle so that everybody understands what the game plan is and how to execute uh, in the event of a sudden event. As it comes to having your bank accounts and how that should be structured within a financial organization, one of the things that we see all the time is having somebody passes away and then their surviving family or surviving team is in an argument over said funds in the bank. And there's only so many things that we can do here legally, and so the most critical thing is that you should always have somebody else on your account. They do not have to be a signer, but you should always name a benefactor to your accounts. Always, always have somebody else's name on that account as a beneficiary in the event of death or incapacitation. That does not give them access to the account on a day to day basis, but it does give them access to the account in the event of certain life events. And that is probably the biggest thing that we see on a regular basis. And as Attorney Guster mentioned, what ends up happening is that uh, we have to put it in probate, and we step away because there was not a defined plan as to what happens to your money in certain events. And so that is probably the most critical thing that I would say that we need to ensure that we do. Um, I cannot stress the importance enough of having your plan, as Attorney Augusta mentioned, having it in writing and having people that are your trusted advisors aware of your plan.
Can I expound on that for a second?
Yes, definitely. Mhm.
What Mr. Eppenger was just saying. What happens? They go to Mr. Eppenger and say, "Hey, somebody died," and so he writes a check to the Circuit Court of Jefferson County. They put into an account. Then all the lawyers, if it's $20,000, then the lawyers that are appointed to handle that case, they start billing against that account. So your money is going down, down, down. That should be left to your children. That's why it's important to do what he says, because Then you're going to have all these lawyers who've never met you, like you mentioned, Selena. They've never met you, don't know you, don't care. They're billing against your money that you worked hard to do, or worked hard to earn, that should be going to your children, your spouse, or whomever you note on that particular account, your mama, whoever it is, they should be going to them. It's being burned in attorney's fees. And that's an example of what Mr. Eppenger was just saying is definitely needed.
Sounds like it's way cheaper to get all this stuff taken care of on the front end because there's nothing you can do about it once you're gone. And, prior to coming on, we talked about being first generation entrepreneurs and really just having to learn a lot of this stuff on our own. And Jason, I can attest that I know firsthand that there are people within your branch that can walk somebody through the process to make sure that they have their account beneficiary set up or another signer as needed. They've walked me through it. So what other services do you have for entrepreneurs to help them make sure that they are established?
So that's a part of the culture that we've tried to establish here, Selena, to really be not just a service provider, but to also to be able to educate our base on certain things, right? So it has been reinforced and reinforced to always, as we have new clients come in that want to open up accounts, to ask them, hey, is there somebody else that you would like to name as a beneficiary? And even for our existing clients, we've gone through an exercise to start asking those people, if we notice on your account that you don't have anybody else listed, is there somebody else that you would like to have placed here? Because again, Selena, the notices that we get from probate are substantial, and it can really all be avoided again just by simply, as Attorney Guster said, put your mom on it. Put somebody that you trust on it to do the right thing in the event that you have some type of catastrophic event that you wasn't planned for. But the other bank services that we offer, we're standard bank. We offer all the commercial services that a small to growing business and even a large size business would need. So we offer deposit services, we offer cash management services, and then we also do business credit. And so those are really the three components that I think most businesses need. You need some place to hold your money. You need a place to manage those holdings, and then from time to time you need debt offerings to help you throughout your business cycle. And so we offer all of that here, and are happy to be able to have worked with such great people like yourself, and are looking forward to being able to help other folks in the community as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Mr. Guster, I know you said your firm specializes in personal injury throughout the country. So if someone watching this today were to come to you or call one of your team members and say, I saw this video and I heard you talking about wills, estates, trusts, can you give them some direction on what to look for, if there's something that your firm can personally offer to help them out, or what they need to look for in an attorney, or that they have the right kind of attorney so that that they don't have something that's not really going to be to their benefit or their family's benefit?
Yeah, we don't offer those probate services except for when we're handling a particular wrongful death case, for example. And that is an example of why you need a will. Even if you don't have a business, if you have a wrongful death action where you're in a car wreck or a motorcycle wreck and you pass away, if you don't have a will, then all of your brothers, cousins, maybe children are fighting over that case.
Wow.
And you don't want that. And I've seen people who haven't seen their daddy in 30 years cuss their daddy out 3 weeks ago, and now they're over this estate just because of the lineage that the probate court gives. And that's why it's very important to have this in writing. If I die, my estate is going to this person. And wills don't have to be very complicated. It could be extremely simple. If something happens to me, everything goes to Bobby Jr. That's it.
Mhm.
And that way, whatever happens, it all lands in Bobby Jr.'s hands, and he controls everything that happens with you, with the estate if you die, because those are the cases that we see, and it's tough when you have families who are fighting over estates, whether it's a $50,000 estate or a $2 million estate. Things get very hairy, and families stop speaking to each other because money changes people. And just like what Mr. Eppenger was just saying about the bank and the account, you putting someone's name on the account. That's not giving them a debit card so they can go to Saks or anything on your account. It's just saying if something happens to me, this person has access to my account so that
Mhm.
they can go and pay your mortgage because you're in hospital with COVID. I mean, it could be any of those things that someone would need access to your money to make sure that those expenses are taken care of, or in the event that you pass away. So it's very important to have those things in place. I didn't even answer your question. Make sure that the person you speak with in reference to probate really does probate work, especially if you have substantial assets, businesses, cash, bonds, stocks, those types of substantial assets. You need to make sure you have a person who really specializes and concentrates in probate work for those, because there are tax consequences that can occur in reference to passing things down. That's very important. But if you don't have like those super substantial assets, a basic will is very simple to do. You could name one or two people. And speaking of wills, I know this is not necessarily on the topic, but when you have real estate, stop putting real estate in everybody's name. Stop putting everybody's name on that house that you know. And it's very common in our community where mama wants to take care of the sorry son. Stop it. He's not going to pay the property taxes, and you're going to lose the house. So stop putting multiple people on the heir property, because that creates an issue as well. Leave it to the responsible one and say, please take care of your sorry brother. And if you sell this house, but don't put it in that person's name who's not responsible, because you'll end up losing that house. And I see that a lot. Although we don't handle those cases, I get those calls where people are really frustrated when they're dealing with those types of probate issues. That's why it's important to have it all in writing, all very specific, down to who's going to get your car, they will fight over a 1985 Buick. So put all those things in writing if you have to split it up, but simple will, everything goes to Bobby Jr., then you're done.
Absolutely. And for those of
Hey,
you who may
Selena,
have,
I'd like to.
yes, sir. Mhm.
No, I was going to say I'd like to add one thing to what Attorney Guster just said. Also, and one of the fallacies in our community that I see a lot and hear in conversation, regardless of how much wealth or assets that you have, everybody should have at least a basic will. Everybody.
Absolutely.
It does not matter what your financial level or capacity is. Now, there's a difference in wills and trust, and asset levels and asset size vary, but everybody should have at least a basic will. It does not matter if you have $10. It's your $10, and you should have a basic will.
I totally agree. And what I think this conversation is really bringing about is that whether you are young, have aging parents, or you are at retirement, if you don't have at least that basic will in place, now is the time to do it. We learned in 2020 that things can happen really fast. And a lot of people who died in 2020 due to COVID may not have had their affairs in order or the time to get it in place because they were quickly hospitalized. It took families by storm. And so once we know better, we're supposed to do better. And so I encourage each and every person watching, listening today, that if you don't have your bank accounts in alignment to where the bank knows what happens to your money, and if you don't have a will, go ahead and get it taken care of immediately if you can. And if you know someone who may need help, if you have an aging or elderly parent or friend or business colleague, encourage each other to go ahead and get it done. Make it a priority to not end this quarter without getting your affairs in order. And I like to thank you, gentlemen, and Carmen for coming on today. It's been a great experience. I appreciate your time, and as we grow with Google and grow our businesses, and we can make sure that we have all of our affairs in order, so that we can leave the legacies that we need to leave for our families. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, that was our show for today. I thank you all for tuning in. I hope you learned something. I hope that it's something that's been, near and dear to your heart, that you see the urgency in not only the things that we need to do to run more tech savvy, well-established companies, to where we can use systems, processes, and procedures, and use these free tools that are out there from Google, YouTube, and all in the host of tools that it has within its database and its wheelhouse. And we have the local help to support to get it done. And also just to move forward into knowing about what it takes to make sure your affairs are in order. The basic things on making sure that your bank account has you're not the only person on your bank account, that the bank knows where your money goes, and that you have at least at a minimum a basic will in the event that something happens to you. We have to be prepared. And again, if we know better, we got to do better. It's our responsibility to not have to have our children or our children's children start from scratch. We will prevail, and thank you all. Be resilient, stay safe, and be blessed. Have a good afternoon.